The title of today's notes are 1.5 Postulates and Theorems Relating to Points, Lines, and Planes. I'd like you to set up your notes like this into 4 equal parts where you have an A, B, C, and D section. And if you're listening to this video, it's because you are in Group D. The theme of this video will be the Avengers. Group D, the first thing you're going to be bringing back to your group is the answer to the question, what is a theorem? And I'd really like you to check in with the member of your group from Group A, because they're going to be answering the question, what is a postulate? And there's a really important distinction between a theorem and a postulate, so please make sure you guys have that conversation. So let's answer this question. What is a theorem? Okay, theorems are, these are statements in geometry that are true only because they have been proven. And when I say proven, I mean by using a proof. We're going to be dedicating most of Chapter 2 to talking about proofs. But again, make sure you compare notes with the person from Group 2. And again, these are statements in geometry that are true because they've been proven. Last but not least, each of the groups had an Avenger. Your Avenger is this guy. And I have to admit that I don't know who he is. So I'm going to go ahead and make a guess. I think this is the Flash. Am I right? Let me know. Let's move on. Okay, the next 3 things you'll be reporting back to your group are Theorem 1-1, 1-2, and 1-3. These are the first 3 theorems of all of geometry. The important thing I want you to know is that you'll never be asked to say what Theorem 1-1 was. So you don't need to memorize that it's called Theorem 1-1. In fact, it doesn't even really need to be called anything. What's more important to me is that you remember what the theorem says, not so much that you remember the title. So keep that in mind. Don't stress out about that. So I'm going to go ahead and move Iron Man / the Flash over to, well, I'll move him down here. And what I've done is I've come up with 3 kind of nicknames for our theorems to help us remember what they are. So let's look at those. So Theorem 1-1, its nickname is, well, it's also known as lines cross at a point. Theorem 1-2 is also known as line point on a plane. And Theorem 1-3 is 2 lines on a plane. All right, let's get to the part that's important. Theorem 1-1, this is the part that I actually want you to know. If 2 lines intersect, then they do so at exactly 1, okay, the title kind of gave this away in its nickname, at 1 point. Let's look at this in the diagram. Okay, here's line L and line M. Those are 2 lines. They're intersecting right here. And what do you know? The theorem is correct. They're crossing at 1 point. And we'll call this point O. That's Theorem 1-1. Theorem 1-2 has to do with a line and a point on a plane. Here's what 1-2 says. Through any line and a point, here's the point part, a point not on the line, so that's important, through any line and any point that's not on that line, there is exactly 1 plane. Okay, and I'll move that around so that it's a little bit neater. Oh, actually, that's not bad. Okay, let's take a look at this. So here we have line, well, this line doesn't have a name. We'll call this line R. Okay, so here's line R and point L, and note that point L is not on line R. It says there's only 1 plane that can contain these 2 things. So let's go ahead and draw that plane in. There it is. Or a plane just looks like a parallelogram of sorts. Okay. The last theorem, it's a little bit wordy, but not too difficult. Okay. Theorem 1-3 says, if 2 lines intersect, then exactly one plane contains those lines. So let's read that again. If two lines intersect, then exactly one plane contains those lines. I'm going to move the, let me see if I can move this AKA out of there. Hold on. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Oh, there we go. Move this back here. All right, here we go. So now we can look at our diagram. So theorem 1-3, also known as two lines on a plane, says if two lines intersect, then exactly one plane contains those lines. So instead of saying, several planes could, they're saying only one plane can. Now this is line N and line K. Let's go ahead and draw in the one plane that can contain these two lines. And I'm going to go a little bit, Iron Man / the Flash. There's your plane. And those are the three theorems that you'll be sharing.